Representative Phil Rowe is the chair of the Veterans Affairs Committee. He's a Republican from Tennessee, also happens to be an MD, by the way, in case you didn't know. It's tweeting at Dr. Phil Rowe and is with us now. Chairman Rowe, thanks for being on the show this morning.
Tim, thanks for having me this morning, and it's an important topic that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, tell us about the hearing today. What is it you're looking at?
Well, basically, it's a subcommittee hearing, and Chairman Boss, Illinois, will be, and Ranking Member Esty will be running the meeting, but I'll be there for this because it's extremely important. When we look at one of the problems we've had with disability claims is that it takes forever sometimes, Tim, to get these done. And we passed a bill a year and a half ago to help expedite that. But you can't expedite a disability claim unless you have accurate information. And a number of years ago, about a little over 20 years ago, the Congress approved a contract physician, in other words, a doctor outside the VA, a medical provider outside the VA, to do these disability claims evaluations. And the VA has expanded that program really without the information technology systems to monitor whether they're getting quality and accuracy. Well, if you get an inaccurate claim, it doesn't mean that they are. They just don't have any way to monitor that. They also don't know if they paid the contract that they have accurately. So it's very frustrating to be into this program and realize if you get bad information, then the reviewer at the regional office that looks at this disability claim or looks at an appeal might look at this and with wrong information and give a wrong determination. That's what we're going to find out hopefully today.
We'll look forward to that. I wanted to ask you now that you were going to be ending your time as chairman of the committee, although you'll be moving, I'm guessing, to ranking member unless you go somewhere else. But I'm kind of curious if you could talk about maybe some things that have gotten better over the last couple of years for veterans, some progress, because clearly we've heard more stories about disasters at VA facilities and problems within the system than we have heard about successes. Where do you actually see some progress being made?
Well, I think there is a lot of progress being made. Let me just start, and I'll run through these very quickly. Implementation is what we're going to do, and I'm going to stay on the Veterans Affairs Committee. I'm a veteran and have been on the committee since I've been in Congress in 2009, and I tend to stay there and work for veterans. During the past 22 months now, Tim, we've passed a Whistleblower and Accountability Act so that the Secretary has the ability to fire poor-performing employees. Number two, I just mentioned the claims appeals reform bill that we passed to help speed that up. That goes live the 1st of February. We're holding a hearing every 90 days. We'll have another one in about 3 weeks on the implementation of this. Number three, the Forever GI Bill. I used a GI Bill in 1975 when I got out of the Army, came back from Southeast Asia. I used it. It's for those that don't know what that is, it's basically a scholarship, money that they pay us veterans to go to college or to technical school, and it really transformed the country after World War II. And the problem is these sunsetted. You lost your benefit if you didn't use it in a certain length of time. In the case of post 9/11, it was 15 years. Now a veteran can use that for the rest of their life. And number two, if you received a Purple Heart, if you shed blood for this country, you get that Forever GI Bill the rest of your life now also. And we passed a huge bill that's supposed to go live the 6th of June. I will be at the White House in about 3 weeks to be briefed on this, called the VA Mission Act. Tim, it does three things, or it does more than that, but three major things. One, it's how veterans get care outside the VA. Number two, a caregiver bill, and three, an asset review. So and we fully funded the choice program. But go on and on. We passed over 70 bills in our committee this year, and 29 have been signed into law.
And to that point, again, Chairman Phil Rowe with us, chairman of the Veterans Affairs Committee in the House of Representatives. I know that you had decided to run for re-election again because you said you still thought there's work to be done on veterans affairs. And I wonder if you want to give us a preview of how you might be able to work with I expect that Tim Walz will be the new chairman, right?
No, actually, Tim will be leaving. He was elected governor of Minnesota.
Oh, so okay. That's right. Why did I not think of that?
Mark Takano or Julia Brownlee from California would be my guess. And we started hearings already in September on this. There's some things that really concern me, Tim, is that the veteran suicide rate. In 2003, we were spending about $2.3 billion, a lot of money on PTSD treatment and so forth. to help lower suicide prevention. We've set up 3 call centers. We now are spending about $8 billion in this fiscal year, and yet we haven't moved the needle at all on the number of veterans committing suicide. So I said, look, why are we doing the same thing? Let's find out best practices, things that are working in some areas. And we have a program in Tennessee that the Tennessee Guard called Guard Your Buddy that's worked extremely well at lowering suicide rates. We brought those folks in. We're going to continue doing that. Number 2, veteran homelessness. We're spending 10% of the health care budget, $7.5 billion a year on homeless veterans, and yet we still have 38,000 homeless veterans. I want to know where the money's going. Are the veterans getting the money, or is the bureaucracy getting the money? And number 3, we have the implementation of the electronic health record, which I did this, Tim. I say this as a joke. It helped make me a congressman, an electronic health record. It was so frustrating. We put one in our office about 12 years ago, and it's not easy. But the VA is implementing the largest piece, implementation of some technology in the world. It's a $16 billion program, and it's going to hopefully do this, create a virtual lifetime electronic health record. So a young recruit comes in at 18 and will have that record the rest of their life. DOD is already doing that. The Department of Defense is using a Cerner system, and the VA is doing the same thing. So we should be able to transmit information from when someone separates from the military right over to the VA. And why that's important, I'll give you an example. We've got a bill called the Blue Water Navy Bill, and these are men and women who served on surface ships just off the coast of Vietnam. They didn't actually put their feet on the ground in Vietnam. But they don't get the same presumption if you have certain diseases as those folks who put their feet on the ground and might have had Agent Orange exposure. We're trying to make that right. But think about this. 50 years from now, if you have all this information in an electronic health record, you can mine that data and find out, hey, do these men and women who were exposed, say, a burn pit in Iraq in 2001, do they have certain diseases that other people who weren't exposed have? So that's why it's so important to do, and it's a huge undertaking. We've actually stood up, and we're going to have a hearing on that tomorrow on the technology piece. We put up a small subcommittee whose only job is to look after this Cerner contract and make sure it's implemented properly.
I guess my question really, bottom line, is do you sense that there is enough bipartisanship on this particular committee so that even though it's going to change over to Democrats in the majority, that there will still be a lot of work done on behalf of veterans, especially because we saw a lot of new veterans get elected to Congress this time around?
Yeah, Tim, there's no question that's true. And it's probably I think it is the most bipartisan committee in the Congress. Look, we check this Republican and Democrat stuff at the door. And we tried, at least I know I do, and I know the members of my committee did. When we did the VA Mission Act, I sat down with every single member of the committee, both the Republican and Democrat, at some point, and worked on this bill together. And I think we'll do that. I think if it's Mark Takano or Julia Brownlee, either one, I certainly worked with them for years, and I look forward to it. I don't think it's going to change a whole lot because of just the mission of the VA committee.
Last quick question I got to ask, is Kevin McCarthy going to be the minority leader?
Well, we're going to find out Friday. I think he will. I suspect he will. I think he has the votes. This is a simple majority vote, and we have only a couple of contested races, and we'll hear the candidates today. And I believe Friday morning we'll be making a vote, and I think he will be. Yes, I do.
Are you going to vote for him?
Well, it's a secret ballot.
I know. Just share with me. I won't tell anyone.
It's a secret ballot. I know you. Hey, listen, Tim. My wife claims she votes for me, but I don't know for sure because it's a secret ballot.
Okay, we'll leave it at that then. Chairman Rowe, thank you so much. Thanks for service on the committee. Good luck moving forward, because obviously a lot of veterans depend on what comes out of D.C. So thank you so much for being here.
Tim, thanks a lot. And to answer your question, yes, I am going to support him.
All right. I knew I'd get to it at some point. Thank you. Congressman Phil Rowe. Thank you. He's chairman of the Veterans Affairs Committee. He's also a doctor, by the way. He represents the 1st District in Tennessee. And he is tweeting at Dr. Dr. Phil Rowe, R-O-E.